Well, hello there, Dev Central community. I am your host today. I am Jason Rom, and Boo has been our Dev Central Connects host for a while now, and he is out this week. He is at RSA with Aubrey, and so I get to sit in the host chair. So I'm really excited to be back in the chair. But I have good news. Even though Boo is not here in the host chair, he is on standby at RSA. And so I'm going to add him in here so he can tell us all the great things that he and Aubrey are doing at RSA this week. Boo, welcome to the show. How are you?
I am doing pretty good, thanks. It wasn't too late of a night. How are you doing?
I am well. I am, I'm sad that I'm not there with you guys, but I think it's going to be a great show. I can't wait to hear all the great content that you guys are going to be working on this week.
Yeah, we've already done a couple things. We have done our typical Find the Booth video, so check that out on YouTube or on all the socials as well. And then we've already done some stuff with Alyssa Miller. And if you don't follow her on Twitter, you should go check her out on there. And then we did some content with Ben Edwards from Sanja and Sandra Vinberg, who are actually doing a talk right now. It would have started about 1 minute ago. So if you're at RSA and you're not in a talk right now, I encourage you to go check out that one. That's at room 153 in Moscone South right now. And then otherwise, full day of chatting with folks today and tomorrow and on Thursday as well. So lots of stuff to come out.
I look forward to that. And so is your Find the Booth, did you do it in the 360?
Oh, we did not do that one in the 360. We did that in the 180 out of the 2D. It's in 2D, Jason.
Okay. Well, I got the Oculus out, and I was skydiving last night in the living room, which was kind of cool. And I went and watched maybe it was the Black Hat or last year's RSA, and I was like, oh, I hope they do that again. But that's all right. That's either way, you'll be able to find the booth, so that's good. But I hear there's some setup still going on in the background there. I hear the forklift beep beep beeps going on.
Yeah, funny. I thought they were all set up by yesterday, but still some people are doing some tweaks to, I guess, some really high up stuff. Everybody hangs stuff from the ceiling. They maximize their space width wise and height as well. So lots of stuff everywhere.
Yeah, and you guys have a finished ceiling this year. I know sometimes the ceilings are somewhat industrial at some of these conferences. So yeah, it's a finished ceiling. It's nice. It's a good look. Well, we will let you get back at it, Boo. I can't wait to hear more this week as you guys release content. But then again, next week as you're back in the host chair, I can't wait to hear about the experience.
Thanks for me on. Good to see you.
All right. Take care. All right. Well, I'm happy for them to be able to learn all the RSA goodness. I've been to RSA once, and it was a good time. And my expectations were a little different when I went to RSA. I thought it was going to be, more in-depth kind of, Black Hat, DEF CON than in that. It's a slightly different conference than that. So, I still learned a lot, and I still had a good time. But it was less of the hardcore hacker con and more of the maybe a little higher level than I had anticipated. But that's neither here nor there. And let me see, we got a couple hellos. Hey, Jose, welcome. Glad to see you. And okay, so we're going to get on to the point of the show. What we're talking about today is covering your tracks, online digital privacy and what you can do about that. And if you watched the real attack story that I had a couple weeks ago, maybe it was 3 weeks ago that it was released on Dev Central. I'll put the link in the comments here. This is a real attack story that my guest today sat down and did a walkthrough on an attack to an F5 property. And one of the points that we talked about, which was a tangent to what the real attack story was about, was the concept of digital privacy and the things that you can do to maybe watch how much information you freely give away in your browsing experiences. So let me bring on my guest, and I'll introduce him here in just a second. So welcome to the show, Jack Fenimore. Jack, how are you?
Good, Jason. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, we talked about, an attack on the an F5 property, and that was a really engaging discussion, really looking at the tool set that's available to you in distributed cloud, and to be able to protect your workloads, whether those workloads are in the cloud or in your own data center. And so that was a really compelling story. Again, I posted that in the comments. It's here. If you have not gone to see that, make sure you go check that out. You will not be sorry. But we're talking about the tangent in that conversation today, and about how to cover your tracks. And so, Jack, how do you cover your tracks? Can you give me a little bit of background on the originally called the Panopticlick project? A little bit of background, and then we'll just kind of walk through, how digitally private my browser experience is, because we're going to run a test, and then we're just kind of talk about the things that maybe make me unique versus other people out there.
Oh, well, Jason, we are all unique, and that is the point. We're more unique than you realize. So I look out my window here out of my office. I can see people, pedestrians, walking back and forth. I like to use that as an opening analogy, right? If I see, we'll pick on Boo Lam since he's off at RSA this week, but if Boo walks by down the street, I don't necessarily know that's Boo. Let's say I've never met him before, and I don't know his social security number, and I don't know his bank account or any of that information, but I know his height. I know the color of his hair. I know what jacket he was wearing. I know if he was pants, all that sort of information, because it's just right there. He's giving it away. And you wouldn't think that's all that exciting, but in the world of what some folks are trying to do on the internet, which is just track you, Jason, or in my example, track Boo, they don't need details. They just need enough information to know the next time Boo walks down the street, that's Boo. So the idea of cover your tracks is really two things. It's a tool for users to understand how unique and identifiable their browser is making them online. How my example there, how easy it is to tell that Boo just walked by. And it's also a research project used to uncover the tools and also the techniques of the online trackers that I was referring to or speaking of. And also to test the efficacy of the privacy add-ons. I know we've heard of things like NoScript or AdBlock Plus. I'm just picking on some of the popular names that we may all know out there. But anywho, a long time ago, about a decade ago, one of our great engineers at F5, Brian McHenry, pointed out this project to me that was originally called the Panopticlick, and it's hosted and launched by the EFF, or the Electronic Frontier Foundation. And the Panopticlick originally was just there to gather information about your browser. And when we run through the test, we'll look at that information that's there. But people will frequently forget what information your browser is happily handing out, like the system fonts or the screen resolution. Because that screen resolution, for example, is going to be important. If you're trying to order a pizza, that's part of how it's going to figure out which site you're going to get. Just as a quick example there. And that was the original Panopticlick project. In 2015, they upgraded it, they being the Electronic Frontier Foundation, they upgraded it to do the tracker blocker testing so that users could run through that. And then in 2020, they rebranded it they rebranded the project to Cover Your Tracks and relaunched it. And that's the tool that we see today.
All right. Well, you want me to bring that tool up here and we can kind of start to walk through what I'm giving away, because I don't have any on this particular machine that I'm using.
Notice you said this particular machine, which makes me think you're not going to let us see Jason's machine.
Well, this is the machine I'm streaming from is not my personal stuff, but even with my banking and all that, I have a VM snapshot that I launch, and it's a Ubuntu dumb browser, and I launch, I do my stuff, and then it reverts back to its snapshot. So even if I'm compromised in some way in the 80 seconds I'm making a banking transaction or whatever while that's live, it's then uncompromised immediately when I relaunch my snapshot. So I try to be careful with that stuff, but I'm less careful in my day-to-day browsing. So, and frankly, security doesn't come cheaply, right?
No.
There's always some kind of cost, whether it's convenience or money or something. And so in the early days, and I haven't looked at NoScript and some of these ad blocker and all that for a little while, but it was like crazy frustrating to go to a site, especially if you're doing research. So if I'm researching an article, or I'm researching a technology that I'm trying to answer a question in the forums or whatever, and I hit like 15 different sites in the process of doing research to solve a problem, and every single site is like, oh, do you want this to run? Do you want this to run? And I spend like 15 minutes for the time I'm trying to research something on 15 pages, trying to tune the experience for that site. So from a research perspective, it's really not great. And so it's nice to have an environment to where I don't care about that. But yeah, if you're really wanting to lock down your privacy experience, then taking the time to do that is a good thing.
Yes.
So anyway, I digress, but I'm just saying that the negative side, there's always a cost, right? Life, no matter what it is about trade-offs. There's no panacea for anything.
Yeah, there's various tools out there, and some of them are a little easier to use than others. And I would say, as in general speaking, the ad block tools have gotten a lot better. They've gotten a lot smarter than they were 5-10 years ago.
Yeah.
So let's test this.
So let me bump that up in font for those of us who struggle a little bit more as we're aging. I mean, it's fine for me, but just in case any of the rest of you who are aging have trouble seeing that. So okay, so what do I do here first? We're on the cover of your tracks. We've hit this page, and then at this point I can just test my browser to see how well I'm protecting from tracking and fingerprinting, right?
Yes. Yep. Just kick that off. And it takes 10 seconds or so to run. Depends on the speed of the computer.
Yep. And of course, that was a trust decision right there too, right? Because anything like this, oh, you want to make sure you're covering your trap. We care about digital privacy. I just made a trust decision that they actually are in, that they're wanting to benefit me, not collect from me themselves, right? So,
and we'll share. They do state what their policies, so they do have that. But you're right. You're assuming one that they're going to stay true to their policies, and there's also the other consideration: do they actually control their website, or somebody else infiltrated it? Just things to worry about and keep you up at night. Because Jason, you are not protected against tracking on the web. We got to talk about your web browser. That's what we're going to do.
Apparently, yes, I am. Our tests indicate that you are not protected against tracking on the web. That's and that's in big red letters. So that's warning.
Yep.
All right. So I'm not blocking tracking ads. I'm not blocking invisible trackers. I'm not protecting. I'm not protected from fingerprinting. Okay. So your browser has a unique fingerprint. If anybody has maintained your own websites, you can get the device ID plus from I think it's out on Cloud Docs, right? Just go research a device ID plus in community or on Ask, and you can actually start using device ID plus for your own. There's a free tier on what you can do with that. But that will allow you to also be able to identify by browser unique instances, maybe similar to like this is, but you can incorporate it into your own website management so that you can look at who's unique and who's not. So, if they're moving around, trying different IPs and all that, that you can still see that it's them, even if they're coming from 50 different IPs and such. So anyway, a big aside, device ID plus, we've done a show on that before, but also, it's a tool that you can incorporate into your development practices.
Yeah, and just to point out, that's an ASM or advanced WAF feature.
You can use it in ASM or advanced WAF, but you can actually use it independently as well.
Oh, very
and
cool.
just it's I think it's a login to distributed cloud. But it's a tool that you can throw in. You can absolutely throw it in ASM or Advanced WAF, but if you just want to put it into your own web development flows, you can do that as well.
Yep. Nope. I had a memory moment. Was thinking of a different ASM feature. You are right.
All good. All
Yeah,
good.
that's why we got to have this smart guy here down below me.
It's like we're doing the little
Brady Bunch.
the Brady Bunch thing. Yeah. All right. So here are my results. So we can kind of go through the details here. It's like it looks like okay, your browser fingerprint. So 233,000 have come here and tested in the last 45 days, and amongst those, my fingerprint appears to be unique. So if I was coming into their site, even if I was coming from multiple geolocations, even if I was coming through multiple IPs, they would be able to identify me as me because of the way my browser is set up. Is that what that's telling me?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
You're leaking enough information, similar to the example of Boo walking down the street. If he comes walking back, he's wearing the same shirt, the same pants, same hat. I don't know what his sports team is, but we'll say it's the Pittsburgh Pirates just because.
Yeah, because they're on fire, right?
Oh,
It's like my Cardinals are in dead last place, I think, right now, but the Pirates are on fire. So
gotta give a call out to Pittsburgh.
yeah. Maurice, hey, your Pirates are doing something, at least for now. So
You did. This is an appropriate time to point out that Jason Rom, you were in Pirates Stadium once wearing the wrong hat, were you not?
oh no, I was very much wearing the right hat. Yeah. So yeah, quick aside. We did a user group tour and we went to Columbus and Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, and the Cardinals had just knocked Pittsburgh out in a 1-game playoff the previous year. So it's like near opening day, right? It wasn't opening day, but it was like near the beginning of the next season. And I wore my NFC Championship hat to the game, and I put that on while I was presenting, and it got a lot of boos from my Pittsburgh fans, but I got to represent. It's my Cardinals. So
love Pittsburgh. Love going to the Burgh.
it's a beautiful stadium. Yeah. So for those of you who love baseball, even if you don't like baseball, but you love great environments, that stadium and the view, holy cow, that is a great experience going to that park. So highly commend. If you're in the Pittsburgh area, go catch a game.
Yep. Maurice.
And give Maurice a call. Maybe he'll take you.
Yep. He's the guy that runs all that. So yeah,
Yep.
a user group with a ball game.
For sure.
All right. Let's get back to the tracking stuff here.
Okay. So okay, this is interesting. I don't have 18 or 17. I have 17.83 bits of identifying information. It's kind of like those stats that say, Americans have 2.63 children. It's like, I don't really want 0.63 of a child. I want a whole child. So.
Yeah, I'm not going there. Moving along.
Right. Okay, so we have different things here. We've got web headers, JavaScript derived characteristics. Some details about your browser can be discovered by using JavaScript. This includes fonts, certain details about your hardware, and your Canvas fingerprint. So is that saying like I log into this site, they are using JavaScript to collect information from my browser?
If your browser will play with it. But if you had, say, no script at the extension installed, that would interrogate and likely block that script.
Okay.
So that would reduce the amount of information that they have to look at to just the web headers. So that's
gotcha.
Kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but it's a good place to point out that you could knock out a substantial amount of this. Because really, at the end of the day, it's a fair argument, but what's security really about? I like the analogy of turning the front porch light on at night. Turn the front porch light on at night, hoping the bad guys go to the next house. Right? It's an arms race, and you want to be a bit better. So,
have a barky dog. Turn your lights on. Have a camera. Those kinds of things, right?
Just a way to reduce your footprint. That's all. So let's see what we've got there. Your user agent's going to be pretty typical. You can just scroll down there, actually. That'll let you jump down there, but I think we can just scroll through this.
All right. So we got user agent here. So obviously I'm on a Mac, and I'm running 10.15.7. Got an Apple WebKit, Chrome, and that's just my user agent, right? So for those of you who write iRules, do local traffic policies and all that, when you're wanting to maybe collect statistics about the people who are coming to your site and all that, you do HTTP header user agent. That's the information that you're collecting from that. And so bits of identifying information is 6.42, and then 1 in X browsers. So 1 in 85. So not a whole lot are using this this user agent, right?
Yeah, that's not you're not terribly unique at that point.
No.
And then now it's a matter of just what else can we get to narrow this down even further. And
right. So more unique in here, because 1 of 85, that's smaller. But then you think about compounding statistics, right? So that's just one part. And then so this is not great. This HTTP accept headers, a lot of people have that's 1 in 5. But 1 in 5 times 1 of 85, and you have these compounding statistics, then you're getting more and more unique because of the number of identifying characteristics, not just any particular one.
Yeah, like
browser plugin details. This is portable document, so a bunch of PDF stuff.
Yeah, just as I think that's really just hitting the defaults.
Maybe because I have a bunch of plugins that are not. Although maybe mine aren't plugins. Maybe they're, what do they call them, extensions? So maybe plugins are different from extensions.
Plugins in one browser, extensions in another. But the intriguing thing to me there is your browser plugin details. Your bits of your 1 in X is 1.85, which in this case is exactly the same as my Firefox, which is running AdBlock Plus. I don't know whether that's coming into play there, but I kind of think the browsers are just spitting out a standard thing there. But if you scroll back up a little bit to your user agent and accept headers, I'll just say as a point of comparison, you're 85, 1 in X browsers. My browser is 274.
Oh, really?
Using Firefox. And my accept headers are 1 in X is 3.8. So it's my accept.
So what kind of machine are you on?
It's also a Mac running roughly that version.
Okay.
I am on I'm on 12.6. Sorry, 12.6.
Okay. Well, yeah, I would assume, because Firefox doesn't have quite the market share that Chrome does, right? So
you should run. I'm a Firefox fan. Support the Mozilla Foundation. Let's see. So we go down there. Time zone offsets, or time zone, more importantly, that's a key one to point out. And when you look at the 1 in X browsers, go down to time zone a little lower.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see your 1 in X browsers for time zone is 20, 21 maybe, which is about right because there's 24 time zones and several of them are pretty much in the ocean. But that's kind of important because it nails you down to Chicago real quick. So we know you're not in Asia. We know you're not in Australia. At least we have a pretty good idea. So taking some of the pieces earlier, we're starting to even geolocate you now.
Yep. And I am I'm within 5 hours of Chicago. So I'm down in the St. Louis Metro East, representing Illinois, at least here for a couple more months before I move to Kansas City. But even when I move to Kansas City, I'll still be in there with Chicago for the time zone. I don't know how many of you have done the lonely drive from Kansas City to Denver on I-70, but the time zone switches somewhere around Goodwin, Kansas. But driving across Kansas on I-70, it's a long that is a stretch of endurance. Let me tell you, not a whole lot to look at.
I've only driven cross country on Interstate 10, and I would say West Texas is
very similar.
15-hour endurance test.
Yeah. I-10 is probably even more lonely than I-70, but that stretch across Kansas is no bueno. Although I don't know why they don't set that speed limit to as fast as your car can go, because
What's
nobody really drives 70 on that stretch. Even the
80 or
semis are pulling 90 on that stretch.
It's 80 or 85 on I-10, but the problem is once 20 splits off going east, the road's so sun-baked, it's wavy, and
Oh,
you can't go that fast
yeah.
because your car can't stay on the road. But anywho, that's the Texas heat. With the time zone, another piece with geolocating you that'll come into play is the keyboard set. Are you have a US keyboard? Somewhere in here that is that output. I'm kind of
Oh
jumping.
yeah, down here a little bit lower. The screen size is interesting too because like my browser window here is definitely not that, but my screen is. I've got one of those Dell 34-inch curved, and so yeah, that is the dimensions or whatever for this browser, and so that is that's definitely more unique than some of these other things.
It's a good way to pick Macs out too, because Macs have their standard screen
Yeah.
sizes.
Yeah. So we got system fonts and let's see.
I'm really glad to see you've got
okay,
Wingdings
cookies.
3
We wanted, cookies are a big thing, right?
Up at the real quick at the system fonts, it does point out at the very end in parentheses that it's pulling that from JavaScript. That first paragraph, system fonts in green at the bottom. After Wingdings 3, it says via JavaScript.
Yeah.
Meaning that's how.
Which is interesting, right? Because why is my browser giving away system information? It's one thing, to give. I guess the time zone even is a system thing, right? Because that's what I'm set to.
Aside from all the security holes, Flash was notorious for giving away all your fonts, all kinds of internal information, and it was very much in that sense. It was just built in the local area, network era, where everybody was going to be friends and everybody was safe.
Right. It's kind of like a default PHP back in the day, right? The if you didn't get rid of your default PHP info page, it was like why not just open the doors wide and say, "Come on in." They gave away so much.
What's .ht access? Why is that important? Yeah. I digress. Cookies enabled, and this isn't just a positive test. In the negative will work as well. Meaning, if you're blocking cookies, and I believe we talked about this before, but the cookies you're blocking also creates a sub-profile of your browser, and it can be used to help map you. Hey, I've got do not track turned on. I don't let third-party cookies store on the computer, yada yada.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, whether they're on or off, that's going to be an identifying function, right?
Yeah, and then the super cookies gets into some of the other variations of cookies that it can test to try to figure out more uniqueness factors.
So basically, I'm not unique at all, really, in these areas. The cookie areas, I'm pretty common. Hash of canvas fingerprint, and this is HTML5 elements. Very unique in that. Holy cow. So that's pretty. I don't know why that is, other than I do have a fairly aggressive graphics processor in this machine, so that maybe that's why. We talk about video card hardware, and so it's more than just kind of the standard graphic card in this one.
A hash of canvas. I get 1840 on a 2017 iMac.
1840. Oh, so yours is even higher than that?
Yeah, that's my 1X.
Okay, I was all proud of my graphics card, and then we blew that out of the
water. I got this old
Thanks,
Mac here. It's got 4 digits. If you get to 4 digits, you can play in my sandbox. All
right. Well, we got a lot more stuff in here, but we're getting close to time.
Yeah.
Bottom line, I'm not safe in the fact that how much I'm giving away. So, they have on this site a learn link now that I know that, hey, I'm not really doing anything to block this stuff. So what are my next steps? What do I do?
Hit that learn button.
Yeah. So we can go in here through how trackers work.
We've covered a lot of these pieces, but as you're scrolling down, it gets into what to do to help this.
Yeah.
And, can I do anything about this? If you get a little bit past what's the difference? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where they start talking and breaking down what's going on in there, much like we've had. And welcome. Everybody should read through this. You should know what people are using your data for and how they're using your data. and they get into suggestions using a tracking blocker, disabling JavaScript. That might be tricky. Sometimes a plugin's better there, so you can selectively enable, disable it. Office Online does not like getting Office Online doesn't play well with AdBlock Plus, for example, and some of those no script tools.
Yeah.
Being able to
you have to in order to use some sites. I mean, it's the whole site is run by JavaScript, right? So
or it's a corporate site, and you just got to deal with it.
yeah.
Meaning,
So incognito mode, that's another one. It's like, you can like remove all the normal cookie stuff that would be stored. That stuff's not going to happen when you're in incognito, because as soon as you leave that, all that stuff's wiped clean.
Yeah.
So there are tools out there. You mentioned like ad blocker and no script. There are some browser settings, the default browser settings. I know one of the things that drives me nuts is that, hey, every site that I go, hey, do you want me to notify you? And it's like, no, I don't. And so I'm always clicking, don't notify me ever. But that's on a site by site basis. You can actually do that in a Chrome setting, right? So there are some browser settings. So the recommendation here is, now that you are aware, the ignorance is gone, right? Ignorance is bliss sometimes, but then once you're made aware, then you have choices to make. And, you can make choices like me. It's like, on this machine, I don't really care. I don't do anything private, and it's just fine. Or you can be on other machines like, hey, I really do care about my privacy on this machine, because it's not just kind of effectively a dumb thin client. And I want to enact some protections. So I'll put this here in the comments. The cover your tracks, go read about how that works, test your own browser, see how you're doing out there, and take steps to improve your digital privacy. And maybe we'll come back someday soon, Jack, and we'll talk about not just the privacy, but we'll talk about the security tools as well, and how to protect yourself against some of these things that O-days that come out and are maybe preventable on the client side through some tools that you can use to enact some security controls. So does that sound good? Is that an offer that I might get a smile and nod, because like, I'm not coming back?
I think we should do it, and I want to somehow call it something along the lines of tinfoil origami. That's a work in progress title, but tinfoil origami hats. I don't know.
I love it. I love it.
You should have a tinfoil hat. I know we laugh about that, but no. At the end of the day, privacy is important, and you should know where your data is going and where it's at. Because if you don't, somebody's profiting off of it somewhere. That's a whole other topic.
That it is. Well, Jack, thank you so much for joining me today. Always a pleasure to talk shop with you, and you have a pleasant week, and I'll see you soon.
Yep. Can't wait to get you back out to Ohio for a user group. See you soon.
Would love it. Take care.
Bye.
All right. Well, that about wraps us for today. And I'm glad that I got a chance to sit in the host seat for Boo again. And so if you are watching this live or otherwise, the RSA content's going to be fast and furious here on Dev Central and on YouTube. And so make sure that you're checking both locations for all the great things that Boo and Aubrey are going to be bringing us this week. So thank you so much for joining us today. Boo will be right back here at 8:30 Pacific next Tuesday, and I will see you out there in the community. Thanks, everyone.